First things first, Frank, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm alright, thanks.
Good, awesome.
So, before we talk about your record, I'd like to jump back a little bit. Do you remember when you discovered that music was more than just a hobby for you, that it was more than...
Yeah, you know what? It actually happened recently.
Okay.
When I was in the band Gallows, music became a career for me very quickly. It was one day I was literally just playing music as a hobby, and then it was my career.
Okay.
But I didn't realize how important it was to me until many years later. In fact, last year is when I realized just how much I needed music in my life. Like I'm not sure.
Yeah, what changed? What got you to this realization?
I had tried to give it up.
Okay.
I tried to sort of walk away from it. I'd been in 2 bands already. I'd been in Gallows and a band called Pure Love, and
Right.
I felt like I needed something else. You know, I love tattooing. I love painting. I do lots of things. You know, I'm an artist. We're very complicated individuals. But I had tried to push all of that away and just focus on music, and it hadn't really worked. So I pushed music away as far as I could,
Okay.
and I focused on tattooing and painting. And they're both beautiful things, and they give me, each of them, give me something like very special. But music is it's just another outlet that I have to do. It has to be a part of my life. Has to.
Right.
So yeah, when I finally discovered that, it was kind of in the middle of a tour, and you know, we were playing, and we were playing passionate punk rock songs, you know, to a crowd that is fully energetic and very interactive, you know, and there's no feeling like that anywhere in the world.
Yeah, you mentioned that audience participation or interaction. Is that important in kind of that expression of in yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important in anything you do as an artist. You know, you make art for yourself, but of course you want it to resonate with other people, and you want it to be appreciated by other people.
Right.
If you're painting something, you know, whether it's beautiful or tragic, you want it to have an effect on the viewer. And the same goes with music. You know, we listen to music. Ultimately, it is entertainment. It's supposed to take us somewhere. But that can be a place of sorrow, or a place of happiness, or a place of power. And I think our music has all of those things. And when we play, it's funny. Sometimes, I was asked the other day, like, how difficult it is to play a gig when you don't feel in the right mind space to play a gig.
Right.
I got a cold right now. I feel awful. But we played a gig yesterday in Norway, and it was raining, and the crowd was stood there in their ponchos and looked pretty bleak, you know? And we walked on stage and we played one chord, and the whole crowd erupted. And that energy gave me, I think I burned my cold out of myself yesterday.
Right.
In 3 songs, you know, because suddenly I remembered why I was there and why it was important for me to do this again.
Right.
So it's a shared, it's a reciprocal thing.
Right.
You know, we give as much as we can in the hope that it makes people feel the way we did when we went to see gigs as kids, you know?
Is there one that sticks in your mind that you saw when you were younger?
Yeah, there is. I went to see System of a Down play in 1999 in London at a venue that's no longer there anymore. I remember being front row, and yeah, changed my life. I left that gig thinking that I wanted to be a bass player.
Okay.
That didn't quite work out, but I just bought a bass actually 3 months ago, so I've just started learning.
So there's still time?
There's still time, yeah, still time.
Have you, well, that's interesting then, because now being on the other end of it, have you already, and I suppose you have, but have you already heard from people, fans coming up to you and saying, hey, you made me want to play music?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, a lot.
So what's that like? It's kind of, yeah, like you say, it's a reciprocal
It's
thing.
wonderful. It's really wonderful. It's like a beautiful thing when someone comes up and they tell you that you've had a positive impact on their life, or you've helped them overcome a negative impact in their life. You know, it's huge.
Right.
And I think that's why I want to make art. I've always made art because I've had a lot of questions. You know, I've been looking for answers, and I might not ever truly find the answers that I'm looking for, but I think through that process, it helps me. It helps satisfy some of the demons that I have, and through that process, maybe I'm actually able to answer questions for some other people.
Right.
You know, so.
With that in mind, and moving into the album Modern Ruin, because there are some very well, you look at the world as well, in the topics that you write about. So in that sense, and you can share as much as you like, but what was one question maybe that you were asking yourself during the making of this album?
I asked myself a lot who I was, about who I was, what I was capable of, what my boundaries were, what kind of a man I was, what kind of a father I could be, what kind of husband I was. It's quite an introspective record. I was dealing with a lot. I still am dealing with a lot. Like the record is all about relationships. It starts with a song about my dog, and it ends with a song about my daughter and the future that I'm worried about for her. And the rest of the album is essentially about me and my wife.
Okay.
And just a lot of the problems, a lot of the difficulties you face in life when you're two people that are incredibly creative and strong-willed and passionate about love and life and art and music. And so yeah, it was just I was questioning a lot.
And well, like you say, it's not, you don't always find an answer to those questions, but did it help you, this whole process of making this album, did it help you understand it better, understand yourself better?
Yeah, always. I mean, that's why we make art. Well, that's why I make art, is to constantly grow as an individual. Writing music helps me get properly inside, climb inside my head in a way that I'm not often able to, or I don't want to, you know?
Yeah, you touched upon something, sorry for that,
no, it's fine.
You touched upon something, because that can be quite confronting at times. So, and especially sharing those things then with everybody who wants to hear it. So what is that like, that process of?
It is traumatic and cathartic.
Right.
And there's a lot of relief, you know? A lot of times I'm singing about things, I'm writing about things that are the biggest problem I've ever faced at that time in my life, you know? But I am a human being, and I know when I'm writing these things that the world continues. No matter if I'm at my bleakest point, my lowest point, I am always able to remind myself that I am almost certainly not the first person to go through this gate.
Right.
And I certainly won't be the last. But any wisdom I can shed on the situation could potentially help someone get through the gate to the other side as well. Because a lot of times it's those traumatic events that happen in your life that quite often we're the own architect of. That you don't make it to the other side, you know. So you know, life is for living,
right?
Ultimately, and I want to continue living for as long as I can, in the most positive way possible for myself and for the people around me, for my daughter, for my wife, you know, and for my dog and my brothers and my mum and my dad, and everyone that I love, and I want to write about the challenges that I face and the doubts that I have in myself and my anxieties and my weaknesses and my failings, because I think it's important that you don't go through life feeling invincible. I feel invincible when I'm on stage. That's when I truly feel like pretty unstoppable.
Okay.
Because I think in that moment, I'm surrounded by, it could be thousands of people who are there for my music, but I am singing about all of the moments in my life that I probably didn't feel like I deserved any of it.
Right.
And so for me, that's when suddenly like it takes on a new meaning. I was asked a question the other day about how difficult it was to keep singing songs about traumatic events in your life,
Right.
or about problems you had. And I said that it isn't. The hardest time ever to sing those songs is the first time you sing them. Because that is the most confronting, is when you sing it in front of another person. Whether it's Dean in my house and we're playing together, or my wife, or in the studio when I'm trying to record the first take of it. That's the hardest part. And then every time after that, you have shared the burden.
Right.
And then the burden is committed to CD, and then it's shared among the world, and your soul is bared, and people can read into it however they want, and they take whatever they need from it. And what I need from it is to get it out.
Right.